And there was one time where Rizwan was FaceTiming me. I could see like girls walking in the background. It's like an army of ants carrying pots on their head. At that point, there must be something I can do. And that's when the idea of the water wheel came about. My only daughter, when she came into the world, I felt ashamed of myself that why is there so much protection, nurture, and this one child? In summer, we'd smother Helena in sunblock. We just went on holiday. These girls are walking in the blazing heat, carrying heavy water for miles. Many of them are 6, 7. That's when they start their water collection journey. So these wells are in the villages, but they're sometimes 2, 3 miles away. There's no tap. There is a well. It's a bit risky because you can slip into the well. So these girls want to attend schools. So many charities, the government, have put schools in these villages, but no one's going. The moment we deliver the wheel, those children in the family are completely free to go and attend school. And the headmasters are saying to us, we're full occupancy for the first time in 20 years. They love education. They turn up. They take it seriously. And we already know it's an intelligent community.
Okay, so Shaz, before we got on air, we were talking about being introverts and how we conserve our energy, how we have to get ourselves ready to do something like this. Talk about how you managed to do so many things which on the surface look quite public facing, but as an introvert can feel like an energy drain, so to speak.
That's a good question. It's a good thing about what I do, my work, my day work, doesn't really involve being out there. You can hide behind a desk. But I realized that hiding behind a desk stunts business growth. So I knew that success equals getting out there, being public facing. So I had to kind of force myself to do it if I wanted to be successful for the things I care about, the business, the charity, my own freedom. So it's a skill that I've been working on. So it doesn't mean that you go from introvert to extrovert. You find ways of coping with it. So there's quite a few conversations that go on in my head. So recently I had an event which I had to speak on stage, and it's draining because leading up to it, I'm not nervous, but I'm thinking, there's going to be so many people there. How do I prepare for this? How am I going to deal with this? And I must have gone to the washroom like 10 times in the last 2 hours. But once I'm in the zone, once I can get past that feeling, then I'm okay. And then I get back to that feeling again. So it's just coping mechanisms. And the more you work on it, the easier it gets. And I guess it's the same for you.
And what sort of coping mechanisms do you have to get into that state? Because I think this holds a lot of people back from doing certain things in their life, especially if you do come from an introverted, or you think you're an introvert. What are some of the things that have helped you overcome that step?
I know it sounds quite basic, but it's the best thing is not to think about it. The more you label yourself, I'm like this, the more you'll become like that. So I label myself as whatever I need to be in that moment. So if I need to public speak, I label myself as, you are the best public speaker. If I need to be in a situation where I'm going to be at a party for 3-4 hours, I am no longer introvert Shaz, but I'm most comfortable in my own space, alone or with very few people.
And then how do you recharge the batteries afterwards?
I need to disappear. I need to disappear for a day or two. I had a big event in summer once. It was a party, several hundred people. But the next day, I booked myself in for a spa, meal for one, right? Completely comfortable eating on my own. I was gone for like 24 hours. I needed to completely recover. And it wasn't physical, it was mental. I just needed to recharge. So I just disappeared for a bit.
And what do you do in those times? Are you reflecting? Are you just zonked out? Are you doing your own thing?
It might be absolutely nothing. So I could just go for a very long walk for hours.
Yeah.
But that's also a form of therapy, meditation work, because I'm thinking up new ideas. As long as there's no pressure on me to be somewhere or do something, for me, that's re-energization.
Something that I find interesting what you just said is the ability to have no pressure on you to draw up those ideas. How do you carve, and this is probably a selfish question, how do you carve that space in the day to have no pressure to do things that move the needle forward in the projects that you care about and become very intentional about it? Because you strike me as someone who's very intentional with your time, your energy, your focus.
Absolutely. So I do my best to preserve my energy. But my journey to getting to this point, so I started my company when I was 18 years old. And I didn't really know I was starting a business at the time because I was very good at designing. And it just went from one client to a second client to a third client. And I thought I had a business, but really all I was a person with a company that was just working non-stop. And it got to a point of something that I loved turned to hatred, because there was never a moment when I could switch off, never a moment where I could relax. There was so much pressure. And at no point was it, I'm making more money. It was more about, I don't want to let this person down or that person down. So, so I'm saying I've come from so many lows and so much pain that I said to myself that I don't want that pain going forward. And the pain for me is having pressure. So I've done everything over the last 20 years to eradicate all the things that make me feel uncomfortable, to reduce them. So I don't do anything in the business that I don't like doing. So I preserve my time by making myself less accessible to distractions. So I've got no space for distractions of any kind that take me off my journey of what's important to me, which means that I've got a lot of time to do the things that are really, really important. So thousands of clients trust me in my business. So I've got to be their leading innovation. If I'm micromanaging or getting caught up in HR issues, I'm not doing that. If I'm caught up in those kind of things, I'm not building the charity. So I time block. And there's also something that in recent years, I call brain calories now. So for example, if I'm speaking to the team, if they're giving me information, if they're giving me more information than I need, then I kind of say, stop, brain calories. And it's a running trend in my office now. Because if I'm expending brain calories on things which aren't that important, I don't need to know too much sometimes, then I've got nothing left for the important things. So I found loads of little hacks. Like recently on my WhatsApp, I wrote no voice notes. Now that's not work because all my friends keep voice noting me now. But that for me is anxiety, because the build-up of voice notes means now I've got pressure. So when I go on a walk to get my steps, I'm not feeling free. I need to be free when I'm walking and coming up with ideas.
What are some of the things you don't like, and how did you define the things that you like and dislike?
I dislike negative information, negative energy coming my way that it's not welcome, negative talk. So I make sure I don't surround myself around people who are victims or always some drama. I've got none of that going on around me, because I've designed it that way, from the type of information I consume, the social media accounts that I follow. So I block all of that out. So I don't like that kind of thing. I don't like someone phoning me, unless they're a very close friend or family member, phoning me without it being planned, because I plan these things. Because how can I be doing creative work, life-changing work, doing really important things that are important to me, and then there's a sudden distraction about something irrelevant that I've not made time for? So I don't like things like that.
And what about in the business? You said you're very intentional about doing things you don't like in the business, in your professional career.
Yeah.
What are you not, what in your zone of, say, genius in?
Look, I'm rubbish at finance. Yeah, anything to do with money, numbers is boring for me. I can't even, a little bank transfer is just like, I just feel like it's such a big thing. So I don't like doing stuff like that. I don't like HR stuff. I don't like any of those tasks that someone could do better than me. I like creativity. I like building. I like improving. I like helping others. And that's what we do as business owners. You do it as well. You're in the business to improve someone's life, whether it's through a business service or a personal service like yours.
Talk about some of the pain and the lows, because you said you went through a lot of pain building this business over the last 20 years, and this is your 20th year. So congratulations.
Yeah.
Talk about some of the pains and the lows that you came from, and what was it? Talk about that journey of, especially from a mental perspective, how you.
Yeah. So when I started designing and getting clients, I used to design party flyers back in the day, like when I was in uni and college. I mean, it goes beyond that, much further back, because my brothers are designers. They're 10 years older than me. So I grew up in a family of designers. So I was immersed in design before even computers had design software, right? So it's something I saw growing up. So I naturally went into it from an early age. But I thought business was, you just serve people, you send them an invoice, you do work. I thought that's what business was. I've only understood business in the last 10 years. So what was happening was I converted my parents' garage in West London. The back of it, I would sit there and I would design it. It was a really nice space. And I thought, yeah, this is business. And my friends were all impressed because they were all looking for work at that time. But what happened was I was just sitting in front of a computer in pure isolation for 6-7 years. And to go to the washroom, for example, I'd have to go into the house, through the kitchen where my mum's cooking, then up to the washroom, right? So I'm eating on the way in, I'm eating on the way out, I'm piling on the weight, and I look like 40 years old at the age of 25 because I was just working around the clock. I didn't understand systems, processes, what kind of work should you accept. Like, for example, one client could affect my whole mood. I would let them affect my whole mood. I've cried because of design feedback someone's given me. So I didn't understand myself and I didn't understand what business was. So there's been so many lows that then I understood what I never want in business. And that was the journey, really.
And this is where you found what your version of success is? Or just the case of discovering what business is?
A bit of both. So my version of success is having the freedom to do what I want and to be able to support the people that trust me. That's number one, right? If I haven't got the freedom to think freely and come up with new ideas and innovate for my clients, then I'm not very successful. Because that's, I think, my business owner friends, when I see them really successful financially, but they're time poor. They can't collect their children from school. They can't go on holidays without being on the phone or on the laptop. For me, that's not success. My version of success is being in the moment with people that you care about. Because, time goes so fast before you know it. We'll be at end of life.
It's very sobering. And then what have you done to help you mentally get to that point? Because one thing you said to me before we got on air was you take time every day to look after your fitness, for example, but it's taking you so long to find what works for you from a fitness perspective. How has health and fitness played a part in this journey of high performance and building business and going after the project you love?
That's a great question. So I've understood the correlation between how I feel and how I perform with my business and my projects. If I feel energetic, if I feel that I look good, if I feel that I'm achieving in the gym, it shows in my work life. And I've always seen that correlation. So my number one priority in the day is hitting a fitness goal. At least one thing a day should be fitness related. And at least one thing a day should be business related. If I can do one thing for the business and one thing for my fitness, over 365 days, that's quite a lot of things, right? So that's the way I've been able to feel successful and achieve success. Because before, when I was working 24 hours, 18 hours a day sometimes, not getting out, not getting any steps. Like at the moment, I'm getting 20 to 25,000 steps. So on a bad day, and I was telling my trainer, I feel like a failure today. And he said, why, what happened? I said, I haven't moved at all. I ate rubbish. He was like, oh, so how many steps did you do? I said, 12,000. And he was like, I can't even get my clients to do 12,000. So my failure is like also achieving more. And sometimes, it takes a trainer to tell you that. So yeah, loads of little mechanisms I've got.
25,000 steps a day?
Yeah.
Is that an average for you each day?
I said at the moment.
At the moment,
yeah,
okay.
Recent months.
And why is that? And how do you carve that in your day?
So all my calls, for example, I'll take whilst I'm walking. And it's been quite easy with summer here. So I will try and so for example, if I got to go to the supermarket for meal prep, I'll park a mile away and I'll walk there and back. It's so easy to build it in if you just park far away.
Yeah.
I park far away everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully you didn't park too far.
No, there was no opportunity here, but that was quite upset. I was like, parking's too near. So yeah, that's how I build in steps, just
and
parking.
If you're someone who's overwhelmed by work responsibilities, being a dad or a mom or a parent, and you're just struggling to take those steps or even just small things to improve your health and fitness, what advice would you give personally based on your experience as someone who's had to work to get to where you are now?
First was belief, right? I did not believe that I could get where I want to be with my fitness goals. I didn't believe that I can get, I thought only some people can get shredded or some people can get six pack. Didn't believe that until I started seeing it. Even like your blog you've got on the transformations. That's pretty amazing that regular folk, like someone regular like me, can achieve that. So once you get through the belief, then you need to know how to do it. And the one thing I understood, because I'm impatient. Anything I want to do, I'm super impatient. But that's the one thing you can't be with health and fitness, right? You can't be impatient. So I understood that this is going to take time, but stick with it. So consistency. So all these steps that I do, I'm not seeing any direct result today, but compared to a year ago, compared to 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I know it's bringing me closer to where I want to be.
And if you look back, say 20 years, something you said to me before is genetically, you haven't really, you're not the, you're not, you haven't got the gifts genetically.
Absolutely not.
And I can relate to that as well. And sometimes that can feed into your sort of limiting beliefs of it's just never going to happen. It's never going to happen. It's never
Yeah.
going to happen. What do you think about that now?
I think it's ridiculous. So health and fitness helped me to go and do some like incredible things. Like, for example, the film, the documentary that you came to, which I know you're going to ask me about. Without that mindset, I would have said to myself, oh yeah, making a movie, that's just for Hollywood. You know, I feel anything is possible. There's nothing that I cannot achieve. I mean, obviously within limitations, but really you got to, I try everything now.
And how do you, what sort of filters do you put on that? Because there are so many opportunities we have in the world. How do you filter your decision making to, right, this looks like a good opportunity. This is something I don't need to do. This is something I don't want to do. This is a waste of time. What's your like decision making filtering?
Look, the thing is, it's taken me 20 years to build this business to where it is now. If I get distracted by other opportunities, if I'm looking that way, I'm not looking here, right? So for me, it's very important to recognize that there's still so much opportunity in the business that I built. I think a mistake people make is, and they're like, okay, I'm going to do this business, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do something else now. They put their hands in many pies, and it gives you this illusion of success. You're an entrepreneur, you've got so many things going on. But really, sometimes that's what holds people back, I've seen, because I see it in people around me. So I like to stay focused on very few things and do them really well. So I don't believe in multitasking too much. I've just completed one of my fourth book. But during that book writing process, I really wasn't working on another project other than my documentary. But there are about 10 projects I need to work on. So I do one thing, I give it my best, and then I move on to the next thing.
And what are your main projects that you've been focusing on recently?
So recently it's been the documentary for my charity, No Waterland. Filming that's taken about 2 years, editing, etc. So now we're trying to get it on a leading platform like Amazon Prime. I mean, it's going through QC now, so fingers crossed that goes well. So that's been a big one for me because that helps the charity. And this book, Customer Experience Marketing for dentists, because that's my niche. I work with dentists. So those have been my two main projects at the moment.
Let's talk about the charity. Why did you start this charity?
I've always felt a void, and just taking back to my father for a moment. If you ever meet my father, he's a perfect candidate for a scammer. Like if he gets a cold call, he will talk to these people even though we've told him not to. He's so saintly, and growing up, seeing him being quite open with giving, it kind of embeds something in you. So throughout my adult life, it's very difficult to give here in the UK. I mean, you can give, but you never give that real satisfaction of giving. So over the years, I've got cousins in India, and I'd ask them to go to places in India and help families that really genuinely need it, because you get that satisfaction when you know you've helped someone properly. And so the things that would help with is, for example, in Indian culture, taking out a loan to pay for your daughter's wedding is quite a big thing over there. And some men even go and commit suicide because they can't repay that loan. But to save face, they go and take these loans, and then, it's a downhill problem. And in our money, it's like £500 to pay for this wedding. So I tell my cousin, go into these villages, I know it's a problem, and let's find out who needs it and let's pay for it. Don't hand over any money, but let's pay for these things. Or if a young couple's had a child, give them the basics. And so my cousin would go and do that for me. And I'll tell him, look, film it when you go, or FaceTime me if there's a reception. What we found was, for example, there was a young couple. I felt really sorry for them. The girl must have been 16, boy was 19, and they just had a child. They didn't have anything, nothing, like no cot, nothing, right? No basics, no nappies. It's just a child in a shack. So we'd buy them all the basics, and then we'd find out that they've gone and sold it all, because they rather have the money for food than for these things that for us would be ultimate basics. So then there's still a satisfaction gap in giving. Like, what do you do? Do you just keep handing out money? And then there's one time where Rizwan was FaceTiming me, a screen recording and FaceTiming in another village. And 2-3 times I could see like girls walking in the background, like little girls, all it's like an army of ants carrying pots on their head. And I'd seen it in Indian films, like in the old Bollywood films, like carrying a matka on the head. So when I asked him about it, he was like, oh, you don't need to worry about this because they're quite hardened up. They see all this stuff every day. So he said, you don't need to worry about this. They're lucky they've even got water. That's how they are over there. And then at the same time, like my daughter come into the world, right? So Helena, she's 7 years old now, but she's quite little. And this is a time when, and you're probably going through this yourself, like when you go to buy a car seat, there's so many options. How do we decide? What's the safest, right? They're all safe. So you have to make these decisions about safety, and yet these children are in the open elements. So at that point, for me, it was like, there must be something I can do. And that's when the idea of the water wheel came about, research into that, delivery, distribution, yeah.
And how did you go from seeing a girl walking with water on her head to the wheel that you designed and came up with?
So I get asked this quite a lot, and I tell my friends that I think it was quite a godly moment. I'm never really in the office alone, but there's this one afternoon after this when I've been thinking about it, where I was alone in the office, and then we got a water delivery, you know, the cooler bottles that you get. And I was like, oh, where is everyone? So I'm taking these down, and I'm a keyboard mouse person, right? I'm not like good with my hand. So I'm taking these down to the basement, and one of them must have fell. I don't know where everyone was. Like someone was out on a call, someone was on lunch. It was just strange. One of them fell and started rolling. I'm quite clumsy as well. So I thought, what if we just put some handles on it? It was just like a thought. I wasn't serious about it. What if we put some handles on it? Because it didn't break. It was quite resilient. So I've got a bit of a research background. One of my business was like manufacturing products once upon a time. So I started looking for suppliers to make this. I went back to one of my suppliers. Whilst I was researching, I found a lady who had made this wheel, gone through so many iterations just a few years before me. So I contacted her and I was like, can I buy this? And she's like, yeah, this is the factory. I'm in USA now. You deal directly with them. So I didn't even have to make it. I didn't have to come up with all the iterations. We just started buying it and distributing straight away. So I put my money in, placed a £10,000 order, and we started delivering it. And I started putting it on social media. I said, this is what I'm doing. Who wants to join me? And a lot of people wanted to join me.
And what was did you ever go out there at the beginning, or did you work through your cousin?
I've been out there, but I get lots of visa issues, not like because my father's from Pakistan. So it takes 6 months to get a visa. So I didn't even need to go out there. I built my team because I had contacts over there. So all volunteer led, all admin costs are mine. My only rule was everything is filmed, everything is documented. I handle all the finances. I'm in control. Yeah.
And why did you want it filmed? What was important about that?
Because when I used to give money to India, to the families that need it, when I was watching my cousin FaceTime me or filming, I felt I've made that impact. Now, Akash, if you give me £28 for a wheel, I want you to feel that same impact. That's why I want it filmed, not for evidence, to give you that feeling. So if you go onto our website, wellsonwheels.co.uk, there's a section called Water Wheel Deliveries. So people like me would love to see that because we're seeing, right, this is what I paid, this is what you've gone and done. Otherwise, when I used to give to Oxfam and SiteSaver, not really seeing anything.
Yeah. And what about this made it really... Why did this touch a nerve? There's so many projects you can do, especially in India.
Yeah.
There's so many different things that are needed. Why that? Why water on wheels? Because watching a documentary, there's potential. It could have been schools. It could have been education. It could have been
there's so much
sanitary equipment. It could have been. There could be anything, right?
Yeah.
Why that one?
So my only daughter, when she came into the world, you go from a boy to man moment. I don't know if you felt this because you've had a daughter recently as well. And you start to see the world in a different way. For example, if there's road rage, like you're not retaliating because you got to stay alive for your family. Like everything changes. And I felt ashamed of myself that why is there so much protection, nurture, love around this one singular child in my family is because she's privileged, she's my own. Why are we ignoring what's happening to other children who are open to the elements? I mean, like in summer, we smother Helena in sunblock. We just went on holiday. Sunblock, cap, this, that. These girls are walking in the blazing heat, carrying heavy water for miles. So anything female child related, I really feel it. It's something I feel. I know there's so many things I could care about, but this, I feel it. And many parents have told me they feel it too.
Yeah. I mean, there was that moment in the documentary where you're describing, I think you're pushing Helena on a swing and you're talking about that exact moment. And that was a bit where I had goosebumps going up my arms because I was thinking about Sia and that I think there was definitely a boy to man, but also just becoming more emotional, becoming a bit more in touch with my emotions. Because I think for many years I was very much, I don't know if you were the same, but you block out any feeling and you just go
Absolutely.
for it. But when you have a daughter, I think you start thinking a bit more softly, right? You become a bit more softer.
Yeah, there's a lot more warmth in the way you look at things, and I call it empathy filter. There's more empathy now towards that kind of thing as well. And I might see a young girl in McDonald's, and I'll treat her nicely because I think that my daughter's going to grow up one day. So I'm just a lot more kinder to young people than I would have been had I not been a parent.
Describe some of the problems that you're solving with what you're doing in the charity, because some people may not have seen the charity yet, seen the documentary, but what are you actually solving and some of the stats potentially?
Yeah. So girls as young as 6, and many of them are 6, 7, that's when they start their water collection journey. Their day begins with walking to the well, collecting water, coming back. So these wells are in the villages, but they're sometimes 2-3 miles away. Best case scenario, 1 mile away. And can you imagine, like, a child can only hold so much water? So mum goes, child goes, and they need that water for cleaning, cooking, cattle. So they're not turning on the tap. There's no tap. There is a well, you go. It's a bit risky because you can slip into the well. So they're collecting water day till evening, sometimes 4 or 5 times, right? And dad can't do it. He's out there working or he's farming. And the mother needs to take the daughter because there's not enough water otherwise. Even with taking the daughter, there's not enough water. And that's the whole problem. So these girls want to attend schools. So many charities, the government, have put schools in these villages, but no one's going. The boys might go, but boys, they don't even take the education as seriously as the girls. So I didn't realize I was solving an education problem. I thought I'm solving a water problem. It's only after delivering these wheels. So these wheels are made for adult use. You roll them, they hold 45 liters of water, about 5 times that an adult would carry. So mum goes once, right? Not to mention all the musculoskeletal disorders, and some of them are holding a newborn and like carrying water. It's terrible. And then early hours of the morning, sexual attack, because these are broken paths, it's dark. All kinds of terrible things are happening. But now what we've done is, with this wheel, we deliver it for free. We identify the villages. We identify the families that need them. We give it to them. They can't resell it. It's the tool they need. They will use it. So adult will roll to the well once in a day and come back. So the children are completely free from. So for example, this weekend we delivered 120 wheels. From the moment we deliver the wheel, that child or those children in the family, usually 2 or 3 girls, are completely free to go and attend school. So we've got thousands of girls attending these schools that are in their villages. And the headmasters are saying to us, we're full occupancy for the first time in 20 years. And to see these girls, and they love education, they turn up, they take it seriously. And we already know it's an intelligent, community. So that is the challenge, really.
These villages are not too far from Mumbai. Is that right?
That's right.
Why is this happening in those villages? Like the fact that you don't even have taps, whereas in Mumbai, how many miles is that way?
About 150 kilometers.
So it's not far away from Mumbai. A couple hours. Why is this happening?
It's infrastructure and a priority thing. It's not India's number one priority. I mean, they are working on it. They've been trying to put pipe water. So 50% of India now does have pipe water, but it's taken a bit of a back seat from the pandemic and inflation. And there's lots of other political reasons behind it. And if you imagine, India's a huge country, right? 18% of the world is in India. It's a huge population. It's a big feat. So there's lots of reasons and there's lots of finger pointing that happens on social media, but that's not my place.
Yeah.
My place is to solve that problem. We're not winning a war here. We're just like, it's the fight really to make their life a little bit easier. So.
And speaking of that fight, India's known for its red tape and government issues, and
Yeah.
I don't know if there's bribery issues that you have to deal with, but what are some of the issues that you've had to deal with even just getting this going? Have they tried to shut you down? Do they like you? Do they, are you an enemy there, or what? What's the
early on,
what's the reception?
When we first started, a few months in, my ground manager received a call, and it was from the local minister's office, and they said, "We want to speak to you." And he called me straight away saying, "Look, within a few months, this is the kind of attention we're receiving. The minister wants to speak to us," thinking that the minister will want to do a red tape ceremony and promote it, because the more press something like this gets, the more support we get. And the call went a bit like this: "Who gave you permission to deliver the wheels in that village?" And he's a simple man. Like, all our staff are like really simple, nice people. And he said, "No, these wheels are for free. We didn't need permission or anything like that." And he's like, "No, I don't think you understand the question. Who gave you permission?" He said, "Well, I didn't know. I needed permission." Like, "Well, this is what's going to happen. The next wheel delivery you do, you're going to call our office, you're going to ask permission, and then we're going to come and distribute the wheels." And I said, "What does that mean?" And he said, "Well, they want people to think that they're doing that good work." So we had issues like that where, people want to show it's their work, or a large organization, huge multinational organization says, "We want to deliver wheels with our logo on it." "Well, how many wheels do you want?" And I said, "Oh, just about 5, just enough for videography." All kinds of things like that you start to see. And the most recent one was during our documentary. A few weeks before we started filming in this particular village, one of our videos had gone viral on the BBC of a lady going down a well to collect water. And it's quite extreme, this particular situation. She's risking her life. I mean, if you can imagine, this is like many feet deep. So she's going down this well collecting water. And India, being the progressive superpower it is, like sending people to the moon and the Silicon Valley of the East, etc., they don't like this kind of publicity hitting the mainstream media. And that's what happened. So what they've done is they'd send police vehicles to these villages to kind of put the sense out there that this kind of stuff shouldn't be filmed, this shouldn't be going out there. So our team was filming at the time, and I needed a shot of the school showing the girls that are now attending school because of the water wheel. So they came back to base. They didn't call me from there and said, "Oh, we couldn't get this shot because this happened. But what we'll do, we'll just write on screen, now these girls are going to school." I'm quite a calm, relaxed person. I don't get into confrontation. But because this is a project of the heart, I completely lost control. And I said, "There is no documentary if I don't get shots of these girls in the school. You need to go back, film in the middle of the night, break in. I don't care what happens." I was being a bit unreasonable. And they said, "Look, we'll get arrested or we'll lose our jobs." And, so those kind of issues, I mean, we got around it. They managed to film it another way. But there is always red tape, but it's always unexpected. It's always something you will never expect will come your way.
Yeah. And in those moments, have you had to deal with, like, are they asking for money or anything like that? There's any corruption involved?
There's been no corruption, but there has been a lot of fear for example, the headmistress who's in the shot. She was fearing for her job. She's been a teacher for 35 years. She said, "What happens if I come on camera on this documentary?" I said, "We're not saying anything bad here. Everything we're doing is good. We're saying India's doing a great job because you've got the occupancy rate up. You've got pipe water 50% up from 23%. We're not saying anything negative here. We're just saying we want to help."
Yeah. Why a documentary? How did that come about?
Akash, I could meet you for a coffee and I could say, "Oh, this is what's going on in India and this is what we're doing." Until you go there, you're not going to understand it. Chance of you going there is very slim. So I thought the only other way to really tell this story is through a film, a real documentary. So I wanted to capture exactly what's going on in these girls' lives and to show that these girls are no different to our girls. We're quite lucky, actually, that we're here. We could have easily been over there, right? It's just happened over time. So just pure storytelling, so people can really see what I see when I dedicate a big part of my life to this cause.
And how do you dedicate your time to this cause? You know, with the business, family, and then a charity which is in a different country. How do you dedicate the time and energy to it and carve that out?
It's a lot of organization and discipline. So I've got set days on when I'm working on the business, when I'm working on the charity, what times even. I even know 3 months from now on which day I'll be working on the charity stuff, whether it'll be an evening, weekend, it's all designed, it's all timetabled out. Without that, it would be impossible for me. And also I've got really talented people around me. Imagine you're doing something like this, people want to help. So I've got so much talent behind me and emails coming in like, let us know. I'm ex-CEO of such and such company. I employed 2,000 staff. I can help you with this. So there's support that comes in, which means that you're really left with very few things to do. And those few things need to be like go on an interview with Reuters, for example, talk about water scarcity. So I just plan my time very well.
And water scarcity, what is the issue there? Because we don't hear about it much in London. But how bad of an issue is it? And that was one of the surprising facts I saw in the documentary that I didn't really know about, to be honest.
Yeah, water scarcity, I mean, it's been documented, but we look the other way because there's so many other things going on with the energy crisis. Water's going to run out at some point. Water is going to run out if we don't preserve it. So there's a lot going on in the world when it comes to a lack of access to clean drinking water, lack of access to water, the supply of water, the reserve of water. Here in India, they've got water, but it runs out at some point in the dry months, so they have to go to different wells. So water scarcity as an issue is actually a global issue. But I'm just focusing on India, but it's a much bigger issue than what we're talking about in terms of well and access to water.
And are there preventative measures that we can take on a small local day-to-day scale? Or is it an inevitable crisis that's coming that we're looking the other way at?
I mean, look, for example, in the UK, they started the hose pipe ban, for example, yeah? And we can do things in our home. Will it benefit India or will it benefit the poorer nations? We don't know. For example, when I brush my teeth, I'll put it under the tap. I preserve water as much as I can personally, right? While as my wife, she's like, I still need to tell her, there's children don't have access to water, tell my daughter. So we can do little things. How much of an impact they have, I don't know. But I think the biggest thing we can do is have empathy towards those that have these issues and get involved in charities that make sense to you.
What are some of the biggest success stories you've had with the charity that makes you think this is really worth it?
Connecting with individual girls and families who tell me their story. For example, there's quite a lot of girls that want to become nurses, and I work in the dental industry, and I understand the desire to become a nurse and to help others. But obviously they can't get out of these villages. So many of these girls have now joined diplomas and gone on to education. And some people have even sponsored these girls to leave the villages, go and study. And the parents are open-minded towards girls now doing these things because they're seeing that like it's happening in larger numbers. So that's been for me, I relate it to my daughter. I just imagine my daughter fulfilling a dream and someone helping her. For me, it feels the same. I don't see this is my daughter and these are someone else's children. I just see them as innocent children that shouldn't be locked in this cycle of water collection.
And where do you see the charity going?
I plan everything like to the T, but this is one question I don't really have an answer to because every day, every week, I just want more people to get this wheel so the girls can go to school. Now, ultimately, the real solution would be that no one needs a wheel. If there's pipe water, problem solved. I can use my time for something else. So I just want as many girls attending school as possible, the ones that want to. And it seems like most of them want to be in school.
And is just installing pipes not as simple as that? Is it?
It would seem so. I mean, it can take, for example, someone said, I want to sponsor a village. I want to get pipe water into this particular village. And in the infancy of wells and wills, I thought, yeah, okay, let's look at that. There's a businessman. He's happy to spend whatever it takes. And the cost, it was like managing a building project, right? You don't know where to begin. Every village has its own problems. How do you go about it? The infrastructure. So we were quoted 2 years for this to happen. 2 years for one village, and that village had a population of 130. So the cost time benefit wasn't there. So it needs to be a government initiative.
Wow. So with the charity, the goal is more wheels for the water. And how do you get these wheels out there? Is it through donation? Is it through your own financing, awareness? How does it work?
In the beginning, it was just all my own financing because I didn't know what kind of support I'd receive. But now it's donation. So it's £28 for one water wheel. And that changes changes life for a family of 5. So people donate and we deliver the wheels.
And is there a case of, what's your bottleneck when it comes to the charity?
Nearly every village that we've delivered to, it's never been a case of, right, go there, deliver it. So recently we had to get tractors to get access to a particular village because they're off the beaten track. There's one village where we had to stop 3 miles away, get motorbikes, take one wheel at 120 wheels, one wheel at a time. So there's a boy at the back holding a wheel, going up this slope, running out of petrol, tire going. Like sometimes you don't hear from your staff for 3 days and you think, what's happened? And then they come back and tell you the story. So every village has had a unique story. And if they come back with no story, it's quite a boring thing, right? Because the team that we've got, they've turned into these like thrill hunters. Like they're thrill seekers. They're looking for challenge. There's always an issue getting to the villages, always.
And is it a case of you've only got a certain amount of villages to help, or are there infinite villages around Mumbai?
Infinite. Okay. We could keep going. We could go on for 10 years and still not even scratch the surface. Yeah.
Just in the rural parts of India, or are you talking about just near Mumbai?
No, all over. There's Rajasthan. There's so many parts of Mumbai, even other countries that need this kind of support.
And yours focuses near Mumbai though?
So we're near Mumbai, Maharashtra. We're covering the villages there. And then we need to overcome logistical challenges to get to do other parts of India. For example, Rajasthan, someone said deliver wheels there because there's a huge need for it. And we've seen there's a need for it. But that's like 5 to 7 hours away with a truck. And then you got to work. So we really need bases in different parts of India.
Got it. And that's assuming the plan, or is this all just as it comes?
It's as it comes because we've already got quite a lot of work to do in these villages here. That doesn't make sense to just leave and then go there. And it's a slow progression as well. It's like building a business. Obviously, it's non-profit, but you need the infrastructure, you need the team, you need all of that. And I like to keep it lean. The reason I didn't give to charity was I didn't like CEOs, salaries, charity structures. So I need to stay true to that. Even though we're getting larger, I need to stay true to that.
Yeah. Interesting. Do people come to and ask you about setting up their own charities often? Do people say to you, I want to do a charity? Is that a common question you hear?
Yeah. It's a question I hear, but it's more like, I've always wanted to do something, but they haven't got the time. That's usually what it is. They're like, we'll just help you until we come up with our own charity. But I haven't heard anyone actually go and do their own thing yet.
Yeah. You're one of the few people I know that have actually gone and done it and continue to do it as well, and build an infrastructure around it. Yeah. So I think you're treating it like a business almost, right? In the way you operate.
It's the same concept. I learned this later, by the way. I thought it's just you just deliver wheels, but you need systems, processes, protocol. The people that are helping you, even though they're volunteers, they need to follow a certain etiquette when they're going. The type of vehicle you need. There needs to be SOPs. That's all business stuff. That's all business stuff.
Yeah, amazing. When is their documentary out then, or what are the next steps with it?
Well, now it's going through QC with Amazon Prime UK. So fingers crossed, in the coming months, it will become live on the platform. And on Jio in India, which is another platform over there. And then eventually, I think we might make it open access on YouTube. Who knows?
Why did Amazon want to take it on?
I was told that Netflix, Amazon, it's not going to happen because large directors, huge budgets, established people can go onto it. But, going back to the earliest conversation here, I feel like anything's possible. So I knocked on enough doors and eventually one door opened. And she said, look, we don't take this stuff. I'll be straight up with you, but I see you're a passionate guy. I've got daughters as well. Let me watch it and then we'll see from there. And she watched it. She called me back 2 weeks later. I wasn't expecting this call because I just thought it's a gentle letdown. And she said, look, tears were rolling down my cheek because, and then she told me something quite personal to her about one of her daughters. And she said, look, again, I'm not promising you anything. It's not my channel, but I think this has got legs, and I'm going to do whatever I can to get this in front of the right people. So it's not done yet, but it's almost like speaking to the planning officer saying, I'm going to put this extension up. He's like, if you do it like this, we should do it. So iTunes, Amazon Prime, fingers crossed.
iTunes as well.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We should have it on there. Fingers crossed.
Amazing. And if you were listening to this, wanting to help you get involved, what are the best steps for them to take? What do you want them to do?
Yeah, so if you're a business owner, you can donate a wheel for whatever it is that you offer, every project, or if you're a dentist, every Invisalign case. So you can go on to wellsonwheels.co.uk, join our partner program. We've made a really cool tool where you can donate a wheel on behalf of your clients, and they get a certificate and they get that feeling of satisfaction. They get informed about it. So joining the partner program is great if you're a business owner, or just going on wellsonwheels.co.uk, donating a wheel to £28, or doing something monthly. And if it's non-financial, and I really appreciate non-financial gestures as well, just sharing it with friends and family. Share something from the Wells on Wheels Instagram page.
Amazing. And if you want to find out more about yourself?
I'm on Instagram, Shaz.Memon, so you can find out about me there. I've got a website as well.
And things to look forward to in 2024? A new book?
New book, hopefully end of this year or 2024. I'm sure there'll be some new project that I'll be working on in 2024, but more of the same. I like to keep focused.
I think that's the thing I've learned from today is the importance of focus.
Yeah.
Minimizing distractions, staying focused on the one thing, and saying no to things.
Yeah.
And make sure I voice note you. All right, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Akash.